debunking some of the myths about regional visas. Regional means the outback is the first myth, and I get this question a lot from clients saying, "Oh, I don't want to go live in the outback," and they've watched movies and they've seen postcards from the outback, and
that's what I thought of as well. When you tell me
the picture they have in
it's like the outback, nothing's there.
Yeah, well, exactly, and the picture that they have in their mind is, Ayers Rock or what we call Uluru, the Great Sandy Desert, and with there being, no supermarkets and no restaurants and that type of thing. And this is a fallacy, this is a myth, and this is something that people need to understand, that they're designated regional areas in Australia, which are actually very large city centres that have a lot to offer. Like I said earlier, Adelaide is considered to be regional, and it's a metropolitan area of 1 million people. I grew up in a regional area in Western New South Wales in a little town called Orange. It's 45,000 Australian people, 45,000 people living there, and it's got great opportunities, great schools, and great community, and it was a great place to grow up. So regional is definitely not the outback. The other myth that we need to debunk is that you'll have to live in a regional area forever. The rest of your life, you get a regional visa and you're stuck there forever. That's not the case. What the state governments are hoping is that you move to that regional area, that you live and work there for 3 years or more. Perhaps your children go to school, you join community groups, and you actually enjoy living there and you don't want to leave. And that's the gamble that state and federal governments have made by putting together this visa type, by bringing migrants to regional areas and then hoping that migrants fall in love with those regional areas and they want to stay and that they don't want to leave. Another myth that the regional visa should be the last resort. Yeah, again, I don't think that's very fair on the regional areas. It's not the last resort. For some people, it's often their first pick. I speak to a lot of clients who say, "Sam, we're not big city people. We don't want to live in Melbourne and Sydney and Brisbane. We'd prefer to live in a regional area which has a smaller population, that doesn't have the hustle and bustle, doesn't have the traffic, doesn't have the high housing prices." The other thing, house prices in regional areas and cost of living in regional areas is a lot less than the metropolitan areas. And this brings us on to our next point, which is the livability. So many areas in regional parts of Australia are quite urbanised and are highly livable. So your quality of life can be fantastic in regional areas. Here in Melbourne, people spend, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours commuting every day from where they live to where they work. And it doesn't set you up for a great lifestyle. Whereas in a regional area, your commute might be a 10-minute walk. It might be a 15-minute cycle. It could be a short bus ride.
And you don't have to pay for parking as well. No pollution.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a lot to say about regional. I think I might move to a regional area, actually. In fact,
So, Sam, would you say that regional visas don't get a lot of attention? It's one of the most underrated visas, would you say?
I think they get bad press, Denise. I think they do. I think people really, put it at the bottom of the list and say, "Oh, I wouldn't consider a regional area, or it would be my last resort," type of thing, where that's where the opportunity lies for a lot of people, and they need to put that to the front of their mind.
It's because that's also my first impression about regional visas. They'll throw me somewhere in the outback where nothing's there. I'm in the middle of nowhere, but it's quite the opposite, because, as you said, South Australia is a regional area. That's where my sister is based, and it's quite nice and it's quite urbanized as well. So it's definitely not what you see on postcards. It's just Uluru.
Exactly. That's right. I've told my wife if we were to leave Melbourne, I'd happily go to Adelaide. Adelaide's got a lot to offer, in my opinion. So what's the next point? So you're asked to live and work in the designated regional area for 3 years, and after that you can apply for PR, and then you can consider relocating. And if the regional area isn't for you at that point in time, then there's nothing holding you back. You're not stuck there for life. So it's an important concept to understand. And the other thing about the regional areas is often employers in the regional areas are really crying out for skills that they can't find, skills which are readily available in the metropolitan areas. We have a client in regional New South Wales at the moment who is looking for a number of motor mechanics, and specifically they're looking for Filipino motor mechanics, and they have a number of Filipino motor mechanics working for it at the moment. And those Filipinos who work for them at the moment in regional New South Wales have been there for years, and they've chosen, after they've got their permanent residency, to stay because they actually enjoy the lifestyle. And yeah, it's an important point to note that your opportunities in regional Australia might be greater because employers are seeking those skills.
So would you say competition is a lot lower in regional areas generally?
Yeah, that's right. You're probably up against less applicants as far as jobs are concerned in those regional areas. And some of the regional areas are crying out for certain skills, mechanics, nurses, engineers, a lot of different skills which they can't source in the regions.